Today's tech news moves fast, but understanding it shouldn't be hard. That's why Snarful Solutions Group brings you Connecting the Dots, where we break down what's happening in tech and why it matters to you. Now, let's dive in with your hosts.
Welcome to Connecting the Dots. I am Alex.
And I am Morgan.
And we are coming to you from the Snarful Solutions Group, right here in Sacramento, California. It is Friday, April 3rd, 2026. And, if you are just glancing at the raw data this morning, you might think you woke up to a perfectly serene day.
Oh, totally.
I mean, looking at the local dashboard here, it is a gorgeous 74 degrees and sunny in Sacramento.
You really can't beat that.
No, you can't. And the financial markets are projecting a pretty similar sunny disposition. The S&P 500 is up a bit in early trading, and Bitcoin is hovering right around that $66,000 mark. So it all looks like business as usual.
Right, on the surface.
Exactly, on the surface. But beneath this incredibly calm exterior, the tech ecosystem that you interact with every single day is currently experiencing an absolute seismic shift.
It really is. I mean, we are looking at a fundamental rewiring of how information, artificial intelligence, and hardware are going to be delivered to you. Yep. We have a massive stack of reporting today from Wired, CNBC, TechCrunch, Business Insider, and Fortune. And the central thread tying all of this together is OpenAI.
Which is wild. Our mission for this deep dive into the sources is to figure out why the company that basically kicked off the generative AI boom is completely transforming. They are abandoning their identity as a pure AI research lab and aggressively pivoting into a media and hardware conglomerate.
Yeah, it's a huge pivot.
We're also going to look at the intense public relations crisis driving these moves and then examine a terrifying supply chain vulnerability that threatens this entire new empire.
It's a lot to cover.
It is. But before we get into the Snarful Tech article report, let's take a quick second. Today's episode is brought to you by Strong Coffee, the premium instant coffee that tastes like a traditional brew but is packed with 15 grams of protein, MCTs, and adaptogens like ashwagandha. Get clean, sustained energy without the jitters. Use promo code SNARFUL for 20% off at strongcoffeecompany.com.
All right, so jumping into the Snarful Tech article report, our morning star, we have to start with the biggest bombshell of the morning.
Yes, let's unpack this. According to the Financial Times, OpenAI has officially acquired TBPN, that is the Technology Business Programming Network, and they bought it for what is being described as the low hundreds of millions of dollars.
Which is just staggering. And to really understand why this is such a shockwave, you have to understand what TBPN represents in the current media landscape.
Right, because if you aren't a Silicon Valley insider, you might not even be familiar with it.
Exactly. So it's hosted by John Coogan and Jordy Hayes. And it is essentially the sports center of the tech industry right now.
That is a great way to put it.
Yeah, it's a 3-hour daily live stream broadcast across YouTube and X. They pull in roughly 70,000 highly influential viewers per episode. They have basically become the absolute go-to destination for breaking tech news.
And they make a lot of money doing it.
Oh, yeah. From a business perspective, they were on track to generate $30 million in revenue just this year.
Which is astronomical growth. But here is the glaring contradiction that just immediately jumps out at you. Just last month, OpenAI's CEO of applications, Fidji Simo, stood up in an all-hands meeting and told her staff that they needed to be ruthless about cutting, quote-unquote, side quests.
Right. The directive was to focus solely on the core AI business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally shut down Sora, their incredibly viral video generation app, just to reallocate resources.
Yeah.
So how does a company justify shutting down its own groundbreaking video software as a distraction, but suddenly buying a 3-hour daily talk show is considered a main quest?
That is the ultimate paradox here. I mean, on paper, evaluating this purely as a technology company, it makes absolutely zero sense for a foundational AI lab to own a daily live stream.
Not at all.
But the official messaging from OpenAI is trying to, thread that needle. Fidji Simo released a statement arguing that the standard corporate playbook simply doesn't apply to them anymore.
No, of course it doesn't.
Right. Her argument is that because AI is bringing such profound changes to society, OpenAI has a direct responsibility to create, fund, and maintain spaces for constructive conversations about those changes.
Okay, I hear the corporate statement, but I really have to push back on that logic. This feels exactly like if a massive multinational oil conglomerate suddenly bought the world's most popular independent environmental vlog.
That's a really good point.
Right. Like, can you really cover an industry fairly and critique it honestly if that industry literally owns the broadcast booth?
Mm-hmm.
I know Sam Altman posted that TBPN is his favorite show, and he explicitly said he expects the hosts to keep criticizing his stupid decisions.
Yeah, he literally used the phrase stupid decisions.
But if you are a listener who relies on that show to understand the tech landscape, how do you trust the independence of that critique now?
It's an incredibly difficult premise to accept at face value, and that skepticism is exactly why we need to look past the press releases and look at the underlying motivation.
Which is what?
Well, why does a company building artificial general intelligence suddenly feel the desperate need to own the microphone? The answer is buried in the reporting. OpenAI is losing the public relations war, and they are losing it badly.
Which really started escalating earlier this year, right?
Exactly. Let's trace this back to February. OpenAI signed a highly controversial deal with the Department of Defense.
That was huge news.
It was. When you shift your technology from consumer applications and enterprise productivity into the realm of military contracts, the public perception shifts instantly. The backlash to that DoD deal birthed the Quit GPT movement.
Right. I've seen that all over social media.
Yeah, and this isn't just a hashtag. It's a growing, organized coalition of consumers, developers, and working professionals who are actively vowing to never use OpenAI products again.
And what makes that PR nightmare so dangerous for OpenAI is that their competitors are not just sitting idle. Anthropic has brilliantly capitalized on this exact misstep.
Oh, 100%.
Right after the DoD deal made headlines, Anthropic positioned themselves as the safer, more ethical alternative. And it worked. Their chatbot, Claude, surged to the very top of Apple's free apps chart.
Yeah, people flocked to it.
But they didn't even stop at the software level. Anthropic tripled the size of their communications team, and they even started pushing highly stylized branded merchandise.
Wait, like actual clothes and stuff?
Yeah, branded merch. They are essentially selling an identity. They are winning the cultural side of this war.
And that cultural deficit at OpenAI brings us to perhaps the most revealing detail of this entire media acquisition. TBPN is not going to report to OpenAI's marketing department.
Really? Where are they going?
They aren't reporting to the product team either. According to the internal structure, John Coogan and Jordy Hayes will report directly to OpenAI's strategy organization, specifically to the VP of Global Affairs, Chris Lethane.
Okay, and if you look at Lethane's resume, this move takes on a very, very different tone. I mean, the reporting literally refers to him as a master of the political dark arts.
Yeah, so let's just look at the historical facts of his career to understand his specific skill set. He is a highly effective political strategist who operates effectively across the entire political spectrum.
Okay, give me some examples.
Back in the 1990s, while working in the Clinton White House, he famously coined the phrase vast right-wing conspiracy as a strategy to deflect press scrutiny during political scandals.
Okay, so that's the left side of the aisle.
Right. And then fast forward to the 2024 election cycle, he ran Fairshake, a massive crypto industry super PAC that spent heavily to aggressively target and unseat anti-crypto candidates.
Wow. Okay.
And currently, he is actively advising President Trump on policies designed to prevent individual states from regulating AI while simultaneously pushing to ease environmental restrictions so that tech companies can build more data centers.
So he is a specialist in clearing obstacles and shaping narratives at the absolute highest levels of power.
Exactly. He doesn't build software, he builds political and public moats.
So when OpenAI insists that TBPN will retain complete editorial independence, I have to ask you, are we really looking at a company trying to foster a transparent philosophical conversations about the future of AI? Or are we looking at a $300 million PR shield constructed by a legendary political operative precisely to protect OpenAI's valuation right before their expected IPO?
I mean, if you are preparing to go public and you are about to ask everyday retail investors and massive institutional funds to buy your stock, controlling the narrative isn't just a vanity project, it is a fundamental fiduciary necessity.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A bad news cycle can wipe billions off of valuation in an afternoon. Lefane's job is to ensure that doesn't happen.
But controlling the narrative is only step one. Step two is trapping us inside the walls. If Levane is building a massive PR shield, it's to protect a sprawling empire that OpenAI is quietly assembling.
Yeah, the M&A stuff.
Exactly. Looking at the CNBC reporting, OpenAI's recent mergers and acquisitions strategy is completely baffling financial analysts. It looks like total M&A chaos on the surface.
It really does.
I mean, they recently dropped a staggering $6.4 billion to acquire a hardware startup founded by Jony Ive, the legendary former Apple designer behind the look of the iPhone.
Just a casual $6.4 billion.
Right. And alongside that massive hardware bet, they've been gobbling up smaller software startups, health tech companies, and even cybersecurity firms.
What's fascinating here is how this chaos actually reveals their true long-term ambition. OpenAI just secured $122 billion in fresh funding.
It's just hard to even fathom that number.
We are talking about the financial war chest of a small nation state, and they are looking at competitors like Google and Elon Musk's xAI, who are also racing them to dominate this space. OpenAI has clearly realized that just being the smartest chatbot in a web browser isn't going to cut it anymore.
So what's the play?
They are trying to own the entire pipeline of your digital life.
Okay, but explain how that hardware piece fits in. Because $6.4 billion is an enormous amount of money for a company that just generates text and images to spend on physical devices.
It comes down to friction. Right now, to use ChatGPT, you have to actively open an app or a browser tab. You are still operating within Apple's iOS or Google's Android ecosystem.
Right, you have to go through their doors.
Exactly. OpenAI wants to bypass that entirely. By bringing Jony Ive in-house, they are signaling that they want to build the physical device in your hand. They want their intelligence running the specialized software for your doctor's office, protecting your network cybersecurity, and, with the TBPN acquisition, producing the media you consume to learn about the world.
Daniel Newman, an analyst at the Futrim Group, had a brilliant quote in that CNBC piece. He suggested that OpenAI's seemingly random spending spree is actually them chasing vibes.
Chasing vibes! I love that!
And the underlying logic makes so much sense. The raw technology behind artificial intelligence is slowly commoditizing.
Yeah, it's leveling out.
If ChatGPT and Anthropic's Claude and Google's Gemini all basically give you the exact same high-quality answer to a complex coding problem or a legal question, how do you convince someone to stay loyal to your brand?
Well, you have to give them an emotional, ecosystem-driven reason to choose you. You build an Apple-style walled garden.
Right.
You make the hardware beautiful, you make the integration seamless, and you cultivate a media personality that makes the user feel like they are part of an exclusive club. Newman's point is that the underlying math is becoming a level playing field, so the war will be won on aesthetics, culture, and ecosystem lock-in.
Which brings us to the third story in our Morning Star, and honestly the most alarming story we need to look closer at today.
Oh, the Merkur hack.
Yeah. OpenAI is spending billions upon billions of dollars to build this beautiful, impenetrable walled garden. They have Jony Ive designing the gates and Chris Lethane managing the PR security guards out front. But what happens when the digital back gate is accidentally left wide open by a contractor?
This is the Fortune Tech Report, and it is the story that exposes the sheer fragility of this entire technological boom. It revolves around a massive supply chain attack that just hit a $10 billion AI recruiting startup called Merkur.
And the reason Merkur matters to you, the listener, even if you've never used them to apply for a job, is that Merkur is a major vendor deeply embedded in the operations of both OpenAI and Anthropic.
Exactly.
So how does a $10 billion tech darling, rubbing shoulders with the biggest giants in the industry, get breached so completely?
It's vital to understand the mechanics here because they didn't get hacked directly. The hackers didn't break through Merkur's primary firewalls. Instead, a hacking group known as Team PCP executed a classic supply chain attack.
Oh, wow. So they went through a side door.
Right. They managed to plant malicious code inside a completely separate underlying developer tool called LightLM.
Okay, so for the listener who doesn't write code, explain what LightLM actually is and why it's so dangerous that it was compromised.
Think of LightLM like a universal translator or a digital switchboard. When developers build an AI application, they often want the ability to easily route their data between different models.
Like maybe sending one prompt to OpenAI and another to Anthropic.
Exactly. LightLM is a highly popular open source tool that makes that routing easy. It is a basic building block downloaded millions of times a day by developers all over the world. It's deeply embedded in the plumbing of countless applications.
So it's the digital equivalent of someone sneaking a microscopic flaw into the specific chemical formula of cement that is used to build every bank vault in the country.
That is a perfect analogy.
You don't have to mount a sophisticated heist to break into the bank. You just wait for the walls to quietly crumble from the inside out.
That is exactly the dynamic. Because Merkur used this widely distributed, newly compromised tool within their own infrastructure, their systems were breached through that infected dependency.
And the fallout is massive.
Oh, it's bad. As a result, a notorious extortion gang called Lapsus is now publicly claiming they have stolen 4 terabytes of Merkur's highly sensitive data.
4 terabytes of data from an AI recruiting firm. We are talking about proprietary source code, internal company communications, and likely massive amounts of personally identifiable information from people seeking employment.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
And the nightmare doesn't end with Merkur. The hacking group is openly stating their intent to partner with other ransomware gangs to hunt down and target any other company that relied on that infected LUTLM switchboard.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is the existential threat hovering over the entire AI industry. It fundamentally does not matter if your company is valued at $850 billion.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you hire the smartest political operatives to control your public narrative, or if you acquire a media network, or if you hire legendary designers to build your hardware. If an obscure third-party open source tool that your engineers silently rely on gets compromised, your entire sprawling empire is suddenly exposed.
It is a profoundly sobering reality check. We're watching the wealthiest corporations in human history race to build the foundational intelligence of tomorrow. But they are building these massive digital skyscrapers on a foundation that is, in many places, essentially held together by duct tape and open source code maintained by anonymous developers.
And yet, that glaring structural vulnerability is doing absolutely nothing to slow down the arms race. I mean, even today, amidst all this chaos regarding supply chains and media acquisitions, Google quietly released Gemma 4.
And that release is significant because of how it contrasts with OpenAI's current strategy, right? Gemma 4 is an open weight model.
Exactly. When we say open weight, it means Google is taking the underlying mathematical brain of the AI, the parameters, the neural weights that dictate how it thinks, and making them available for developers to download and modify.
Which is the exact opposite of what OpenAI is doing.
It is the antithesis of the walled garden approach. While OpenAI is spending billions trying to lock you into their hardware and their ecosystem, Google is tossing incredibly powerful raw AI models out into the wild to try and undercut OpenAI's dominance.
Just giving it away.
Pretty much. The raw capability of the technology just keeps advancing relentlessly, day by day, regardless of the security risks or the PR battles.
Before we wrap up, a quick thanks to Old Glory, an iconic music and sports fan merch store, perfect for the techie in your life. Use promo code SNARFL for 15% off at oldglory.com.
So just to recap the relevance of everything we've looked at today, it really forces you to step back and reevaluate the entire information landscape we are trying to navigate.
Yeah, it's moving so fast.
The race to artificial general intelligence has clearly evolved far beyond a simple coding competition between rival labs. As we've seen, it has morphed into a multi-front war for total dominance. OpenAI buying TBPN proves that controlling the public narrative is now viewed as being just as critical as the algorithms themselves.
And the hardware.
Right. Their multi-billion-dollar M&A spree reveals a desperate rush to construct an all-encompassing hardware and software ecosystem before the underlying technology becomes a cheap commodity.
And then you have the Merkur hack,
Which is a glaring, sirens-blaring warning that the profound security vulnerabilities deeply embedded in the AI supply chain could bring the whole thing crashing down at any moment.
It is a precarious balancing act. You have infinite ambition resting on incredibly fragile digital infrastructure.
Absolutely.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to mull over as you watch this tech landscape continue to shift. If the massive, well-funded companies building the foundational intelligence of tomorrow also own the media networks that are supposed to critique them, and they are building the physical hardware that delivers that information directly to your eyes and ears, where does the independent voice actually live?
That's the real question.
Right. How do you ensure the reality you are being sold hasn't been completely manufactured by the company that owns the pipes?
That might be the most important question we can ask as this technology integrates deeper and deeper into our daily lives. You have to keep questioning the architecture of the information around you, and more importantly, who holds the blueprints.
We're here to help at Snarful, so reach out on our website if you have any more questions.
That's a wrap on today's top stories. Remember, tech doesn't have to be complicated, and we're here to help connect the dots. If you've got questions or want to learn more, visit us at snarful.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.